Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be getting into my May TBR. That is all of the books that I'm going to want to read this month in the month of May 2024. I cannot believe we're already in May. I feel like I say this at the beginning of every TBR, but thinking about almost being halfway through 2024 is wild. I feel like it was just New Year's. I feel like spring break was yesterday. Like, this is just crazy. But I'm very happy to be getting into late spring, early summer reading. If you know anything about my reading taste, you know I'm such a seasonal reader. I'm a big mood reader. So I have a lot of books with just like good vibes in my May TBR. Why don't we just go ahead and kick it off with thrillers. For my new release thriller reading vlog in the month of May, I have a few options, starting with Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. This one's been getting really good reviews and I'm interested in the premise. I feel like I've heard a premise like this before. It's nothing new or crazy, but apparently this is a really good take on it. The setup is that it's a strangers on a train situation where two people decide to commit murders for each other. So the person who has the vested interest in the killing isn't a suspect. We're also following one of the people who is related to one of the victims, a wife who is just dealing with a home invasion and her husband being killed, and she's no longer feeling safe. So I think that's an interesting element, that we're not only following the two planning to kill people, but we're also following someone who's affected by one of the deaths. I've heard this is twisty. I've liked Steve Kavanaugh's writing in the past, so we will see. My next thriller option is Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham. I have kind of a mixed history with Stacey Willingham. I really liked Flicker in the Dark. Even though I guessed the killer in that book accurately on page 10, I still had such a good time reading that book. I just thought it was really well written, really well done, despite being predictable. Her second book though, I really didn't love at all. I thought it was really boring. I gave it 2 stars. So we'll see where this one ends up, if it's more like Flicker in the Dark or more like the second one. I literally don't even remember the name of it, but I've heard this one has good drama and like scandalous content, so I'm excited for that. It sounds like a lot of friendship drama based around one it girl who kind of chooses a little mousy girl, plucks her out and says like, you're gonna be my new project, my new bestie, and then things start getting sinister within their friend group. It kind of reminds me of The Hunting Wives a little bit from the description. I don't want to read too much further down under that because I feel like, especially with Book of the Month thrillers, I don't know, they tend to have a lot of content and I'd rather just go in semi-blind and be surprised, but this one sounds really up my alley. I also have Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I wasn't super interested in this one, but again, it's been getting really good reviews. I am not really a podcast thriller type of girly. Like, I don't know what it is. I just don't love that element. It feels kind of gimmicky at this point. I feel like they kind of had their moment, Miss Podcast Thriller, in like 2019, 2020, and now it just feels a little forced every time I see another one playing on that trope. But I'm gonna give this one a try, mostly because my friend Aspen read it and she liked it, and she's not even like a big thriller girl. Like, she usually does not rate thrillers highly, and I think she gave this one 4 stars. So that is pretty encouraging to me. And this one, again, seems like Southern, like catty friend drama. There are these 2 Southern it girls and they're best friends until one night one of them is found wandering the streets covered in the other's blood. And we are going through like a true crime podcast kind of format to see what actually happened. And the other couple books I have as options to include in that video are The Couple in 5B by Lisa Unger. I have this on audio from Libro FM. Thank you so much to Libro for providing me with an early copy of this. And this is about just like like a weird, suspicious couple who moves into an apartment and things start going wrong. It seems like very typical spring thriller. I don't know, I like to read things set in like a city, like apartment vibe during spring. I don't know, I like a New York spring situation. And this one hasn't been getting the best reviews, but I usually enjoy Lisa Unger books, even when they're like just okay. I feel like I just like her writing style, so I will give that one a try. And the other couple that I have for options for my thriller vlog are not necessarily newest of the new releases, but they're ones that I'm really interested in and I haven't heard anyone talk about. So the first one is The Lies He Told by Valerie Keough, and the tagline is "How much do you trust your partner?" It's about 4 angry women all being played by the same man and the one crime of passion that occurs when they all come together. I think we know where this is headed, and it sounds like a great time to me. It's short, I haven't heard anyone talk about it. I'm very interested. And the other option I have here is Unmissing by Minka Kent. And I haven't read anything by Minka Kent, but I've heard good things from other reviewers, so I'm excited to try out a new to me author. This one sounded so good. It's about a happy couple who they're just living one day fine and dandy, and the husband's ex-wife, who was previously kidnapped and just kind of like assumed dead, shows up at the doorstep, and she's like, "Hey, I escaped my kidnapper. I've been through hell, like ready to restart my life." And he's like, "Oh, lol, like I got a new wife." And the new wife is like, "LOL, yeah, like this is my life now." So how are things gonna work out from there? I don't know, but I'm excited to see. Next up on my TBR, I have Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. I am so excited to get into this one. I read Magnolia Parks in April and I absolutely loved it. I don't know if I absolutely loved it. I mean, I think it's an absolutely amazing book. But I was going through hell, I was going through heartbreak, I was going through the ups and downs of just like, if you know, you know, if you've read Magnolia Parks. And this is the second one in that kind of like universe. Takes place at the same time as Magnolia Parks, but we're following a different couple in the like London high society. So we're following Daisy Hates and Christian, who was kind of a part of the last book. He has kind of like a love triangle with Magnolia, and I'm interested to get to know Daisy's character and figure out how she fits into things. I've heard that this is more of a mafia romance. I don't really love mafia romances, so we'll see how it goes. Like, I don't love like the drugs, guns, pew pew, gangster. Like, I don't love that kind of a vibe. When I read a romance, usually just like rich people drama, like Magnolia Parks, or cutesy little small town rom-com. So we'll see how it goes. And the other romance that I have on my May TBR is Take Me With You by Nina G. Jones. And this one comes highly recommended from my friend Dawn. She said she stayed up reading this all night, and it's giving stalker, kidnapping, romance. I don't want to read the back. I don't want to know barely anything. I just want this one to take me on a ride. And I think I mentioned this in a haul video recently, and I had multiple commenters saying that they love this one just as much as Dawn did. So thanks for the rag, y'all. I'm excited. I also have a couple nonfiction books on my TBR. I've been liking a little nonfiction, like annotation moments. I don't know what it is. It's just a new era, I guess. So I want to read All About Love by Bell Hooks. And this book basically explores the question, what is love, but outside of the context of relationships, like more like finding love for yourself, and what does that mean, and how does that look in practice. It's written through a feminist lens. I believe the author is a person of color as well. I believe so. I'm not seeing a picture of her on here, but I think she is. So intersectionality conversations, it just feels like it's gonna be really healing, and it's not too long. I hate like a long, heavy, like self-helpy kind of moment. This feels more like small, approachable self-improvement. I like it. And then if you watched my Come Book Shopping With Me vlog that I posted a couple weeks ago, if you missed it, I will link it up above and down below. I found this book by Emily Ratajkowski called My Body, and I'm really interested in this. I just know Emrata from like social media, being like a little influencer girly, but she has this book which is called A Deeply Honest Investigation of What It Means to Be a Woman and a Commodity. I love that. It's just talking about women's bodies, our relationship to them, how society treats us, and y'all know I love shit like that. So I'm probably gonna annotate the fuck out of this and just like feel into my feminine power. I also have a YA book, and that is Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. And I got this rec from Jordaline, which I mentioned in my haul video. I'm reading a lot of books that I recently hauled, so if you want to see that whole entire haul, I think I had like 60 books or something crazy, 50, 60 books, I don't know. I will link that one up above and down below as well. But this one explores similar themes as the last few books, like feminism and rape culture. It says, Emma Donovan is 18, beautiful, and fearless. It's the beginning of summer in a quiet Irish town, and tonight she and her friends have dressed to impress. Everyone is at the big party and all eyes are on Emma. The next morning, her parents discover her in a heap on the doorstep, unconscious, disheveled, bleeding, disoriented, and looking as if she was dumped there in a hurry. She remembers nothing. That day, several devastating photos from the party are posted online and go viral, launching a criminal investigation and sending the community into tumult. The media descends, neighbors choose sides, and people from all over the world want to talk about her story. Emma's life has been changed forever by the unthinkable and all too common act of sexual violence. So, this sounds really heavy, but it also sounds like it's going to be similar themes to One of Our Own by Lucinda Berry, which I really liked in April, so I'm reading this one. I also have one more thriller on my TBR, but this one will not be included in the main channel vlog, and that's because it's going to be vlogged only for Patreon because it is my Patreon book club pick. That is Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda, which this one is also getting really great reviews. I'm loving the 2024 thrillers that are popping off. I felt like 2023 was a really not great year for thrillers, so very excited for these good new releases. This one says, the discovery of the first car was a shock. The second car was a pattern, a warning, and the key to a decades-old mystery that may be better off left in the past. So we are at Mirror Lake again. Like, this is giving me spring turning into summer, like spending time on the lake. A beautiful waterfront community where neighbors know neighbors and family businesses are the norm. There's a small town way of life that goes on year after year. But when the long-serving detective dies suddenly, his daughter returns home after 10 years away, wary of the place and the people that she's left behind there. Hazel isn't the only relic of the past to resurface, though. A drought has descended, and the water levels in the lake are dropping. Long hidden secrets are emerging. She's finding evidence that may finally explain what happened to her mother, who disappeared when Hazel was a teenager, taking the family's savings with her. So it's not only about the town, but it also seems to be about our main character's family, generational trauma, her relationship with her mother, her father, who was the investigator. I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be such a good discussion. Also, the last discussion that we had for First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker, which was our April pick, that was our best book club discussion we've literally ever had. It was phenomenal. It made me think. We were commiserating. We were feeling visceral emotions. Oh my God, it was so good. If you want to be a part of our discussion of this book and also watch the recording of that discussion, you can join my Patreon. It's always linked down below. The first book club tier that you can join to get access to the book club is only $5.99 for an entire month of book club. So check it out if you've been interested. There's also a free tier where if you're like not sure about spending the money, you can join the free tier and get updates about when I post on Patreon for just my free members. And if you see something interesting that you might want, you can upgrade then. Now getting into magical realism. I have a couple magical realism-y kind of books that I want to read in May. The first one is also kind of a romance, and that is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. And this is a romance with different little magical realism elements, including time travel, which y'all know If you know my reading taste, I love time travel in books. It says this is a love story 100 years in the making, and it takes place in two eras, in the 1920s in decadence and then in contemporary Harlem. And it sounds like kind of the plot of Last Night in Soho, but instead of renting a room that transports you into the past that is horrifying, you are renting a room that transports you into the past where you're meeting the love of your life. Yeah, I'm obsessed. And I'd also love to read Acts of Violet this month as well. This one's by Margarita Montemor. I loved Una Out of Order by this author, so I'm excited to read another one from her. It's about a woman who is a magician, and her final trick that she ever performed was literally disappearing. Like on stage in the middle of one of her shows, she left, and nobody for years has ever found her. She just literally left. She disappeared for real. And this guy is obsessed with this case. He's trying to figure out what actually happened to her, where she went. So he starts talking to her sister and getting to know her and interviewing her for this like podcast. I think we're gonna find out more about her family, also about him and his obsession with the family and the original trick, which obviously, like, how did that happen? There has to be something like magical and weird going on there. Una Out of Order, Margarita Montemor's first book, did play with time as well, so I'm hoping that shows up in here. And then the last section of books on my May TBR is horror. I want to get back into horror. I haven't been in my horror era, but I miss it. And I am definitely reading at least one of these in May, because one of my best books of 2023 was a little horror book called Night's Edge by Liz Kieran, and the sequel is out. So I'm going to be reading First Light by Liz Kieran. This is the follow-up of everything that's going to happen after the events of Night's Edge. If you don't know what Night's Edge is about, it is basically bisexual vampirism in a post-pandemic world set at a music festival. Do with that what you will. There's also like intense trauma and generational trauma, mental health rep. So yeah, that book was literally made for me. I was obsessed with it. This is going to explore more of what happened in the aftermath, which I'm not gonna spoil. So yay for this. I also received an advanced copy of Youth Juice by E.K. Sathu, and I'm so excited to get into this. Pitched as American Psycho meets The Devil Wears Prada, it says it has outrageous body horror and feminist commentary. So this woman is basically working at a luxury skincare and wellness company based in New York's trendy Soho neighborhood. Again, I love the New York vibes for this time of year, but it's clear that something is deeply amiss there. She quickly becomes addicted to not only the brand, but the lifestyle that they promote, and especially Youth Juice, this fatty, soothing moisturizer that she's testing for the brand. However, she learns the gruesome secret ingredient at the heart of Youth Juice, and she has to decide how far she's willing to go to stay beautiful forever. This is gonna be so good. I also have this horror novella by Izzy Lee called I Can See Your Lies. Girl, I don't know what this is about. There's literally no description. I have a signed copy of this book because a man in a bookstore, I told him my book taste and he just gave me this book and he was like, buy it. And so I trusted him blindly. There's no blurb, nothing. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but we will see. The only thing that it says on the back is that it's intimate, twisty, compelling, fast, sharp, haunting, and nightmarish. And it's blurbed by Josh Millerman and Gabino Iglesias, so I trust them. And the last book that I have here on my May TBR is Dear Child by Romy Hausman. It's about a woman who is kidnapped and held in a cabin in the woods, and we follow her as she escapes, but her escape is only the beginning of an entirely new nightmare, because when she goes back home, her parents are like, this isn't the daughter that was here before. This is a different girl. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm literally just traumatized. Like, of course I'm gonna be different. And they're like, okay, yeah, no, like, but we expected that, but you're not her. So who is she? What's going on? And also, her tormentor still wants to get back what belongs to him, and she may not be ever able to truly escape until the truth about what happened in the woods emerges. I'm literally so obsessed. Haven't even read it, and I'm obsessed. So with that, that is the smattering of books that I'm hoping to get to in the month of May. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my TBR. Let me know down below if you're gonna read any of these this month or if you've already read them and I should prioritize some of these. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And go check out my book club over on Patreon if you're interested in joining us this month. Don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!